Today, we have a very special Bronze 5 Kiriko review. I'm going to use a brand new style of reviewing focused on editing down the VOD to show specific examples about concepts talked about during the video. This way, I can get the same amount of information across in 10 minutes that used to take me 45. I'm going to talk briefly about changes coming to the channel, so if you just want to see the review, use the timestamps to skip ahead to where the review starts. In the past, I did my VOD reviews all the same. Long form, less editing. Now I'm going to split up the VOD reviews into two categories. Live reviews, where I go over the replay with the person on call. These will still be posted to the channel in the same way as before, usually quite long and not a lot of editing. For recorded reviews though, like this one, I'll be trying out a new way, which will be more focused on editing and keeping things concise. In these reviews, I'm going to focus on the 3 most useful things that the person can do to improve their gameplay. I think focusing on any more than that is information overload and should be saved for later reviews. I'm also going to start posting other educational videos that aren't VOD reviews soon to get some variety in here. With all that being said, let's get into this review. Today we have the story of Appleton, a Bronze 5 Kiriko who decided he doesn't want to be Bronze 5 anymore. First up, let's talk about understanding your own character and abilities. If you want to climb in Overwatch, this is absolutely necessary. Luckily, you can learn a lot of this just by playing more. Outside resources like this one will help speed it up, but they aren't necessary for now. Just focus on getting more playtime and trying out new heroes you find fun or interesting. The first and most important aspect of understanding your character is understanding your abilities. For characters I've never played, I like to go straight into a quick play game or two and then read the skill descriptions after. If I read them first, they usually just don't mean anything to me. Let's talk about Kiriko's abilities first. I'm going to assume you already know what they do, so we're going to focus on how you can best use them. Let's start with teleport. Teleport is used in a few ways. 1. Getting back from spawn quicker. 2. Teleporting yourself from a dangerous place to a safe one. And 3. Teleporting yourself to a teammate in danger to try and save them. Getting back from spawn quicker is self-explanatory, so we won't spend much time on it. The most important thing to keep in mind is if the only people you can teleport to are currently fighting, you need to be ready for whatever is happening as soon as you teleport in, so you don't die again, which is the worst case scenario, especially for a support. The second use case, teleporting yourself from a dangerous place to a safe one, should be the most common use. Anytime you're in a position where dying is likely, you should be thinking about teleporting to a teammate in a better location. The more urgent the threat, the faster you need to get out of there. Once you get more experience, you'll be able to recognize these situations better. I'll point out a few times in this match where you should have used TP to get out of danger, but you didn't. I could only find one example of you using it to escape danger correctly in the first half, which is this clip. The reason for this is because you're frequently using your teleport to go in instead of using it to escape, which is a common mistake for players who are new to Kiriko. That being said, there are times when it is appropriate to put yourself in the middle of a fight to try and save a teammate, so let's talk about it. 2 good reasons to teleport in instead of out are A, you are reasonably sure you can save both your teammate and live, or B, if the teammate you are trying to save were to die, the fight would be lost for sure. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the times you teleported into the fight when you shouldn't have. In the first clip, the soldier was not in immediate danger, but now you're stranded next to the enemy without a way out. In the second clip, teleporting and Suzuing might save the Doomfist, but you're almost certainly going to die in that position. In the third clip, the fight was already lost, so there's really no point trying to help the soldier anymore. Here's a good example of teleporting into the fight. If your Doomfist dies, it's going to be extremely hard to win this fight, so you need to get in there and try and save him if possible. You should now have a pretty good understanding of how to use teleport. Let's move on to Kiriko's other ability, Protection Suzu. Out of the two, this one is more important and has a huge playmaking potential if used correctly. Unlike teleport, there aren't set rules on how or when to use it, although some people might try and say that there are. There are, however, generally guidelines on when you should be using it. Some of those times are when you or your teammate is inflicted with a life-threatening status effect. This is usually the anti-heal effect, but there's also various others like burning, frozen, pinned. If the status effect isn't life-threatening, I generally advise against using Suzu. For example, if Ana lobs a nade on your other support but no one's shooting at them, you don't need to cleanse them. Another use is to counter high burst damage. Throwing Suzu at your feet when Genji is nanoblading you gives you just enough time to teleport away before he can slice you. You can also throw it in grabs, time it for Sigma's Flux, walk through Dragon and Molten Core with it, and much more. Suzu can also be used offensively. I always teach that when you have big offensive ults happening, you should be supporting them with Suzu. If your Genji is blading, you can teleport to him and Suzu him. Same with Visors, Whole Hog, High Noon, and many other ults. There are other ways to use it, but these are just some examples. Let's look at your gameplay specifically and point out some good and bad Suzus that you used and talk about why they were good or bad. Starting with the bad. In the first clip, nobody was low or in danger of dying. In the second clip, the actual Suzu itself wasn't bad. You should be using the cover right next to you to avoid the damage so that you can have your Suzu later when you actually need it. Now for the good. In the first example, you hit 4 people and cleansed your anti-low health tank. In this clip, you prevent yourself from taking lethal damage. In this clip, you again potentially save your tank, and in the last clip, it's more of the same. All in all, I think your Suzus are pretty good for this elo. I'm not going to address ult usage in this video as I believe you have other more pressing things to learn before you get into ultimates. For now, let's move on to Baptiste and his abilities. Bap has a bit more nuance than Kiriko. We'll start with his Regenerative Burst, or just his shift as I usually refer to it. His shift applies an instant healing plus healing over time to himself and anyone near him on use. A big part of this ability is the fact that it heals twice as much on heroes who are under half HP, so you really want to wait and use this after your team is under 50% HP. It's also important to note that this is your only form of self-healing, so you really don't want to get into a habit of randomly spamming this ability. Bap's other ability is Immortality Field, aka Lamp. It's one of the strongest abilities in the entire game with a cooldown of 25 seconds, and it's extremely punishing if you waste it before you really need it. Let's look at some good and bad uses during your game, starting with the bad. Nobody is even injured at all here. Right now you needed to use Lamp, but you didn't. And here you used Lamp too early, so even if it did land where you wanted, they could shoot it before Flux finished. Now for the good, which don't really need an explanation. Since we aren't talking about ults today, that's going to wrap up our first section of 3. Just as a little recap, it's important to understand our own abilities, when to use them, and when not to use them, as this is fundamental knowledge that allows you to correctly react to your opponent's plays as a support. The counterpart to understanding your own character is understanding your enemies. You may know that Lamp prevents people from dying, but what if, for example, you don't know what Gravitic Flux does? It would be really hard to know if you need to use Lamp in that situation. To be honest, the fastest way to learn the characters is to play a few games as all of them. You can learn their abilities for yourself, figure out what playstyle works for them, figure out what doesn't, and a whole host of other information. Whenever someone asks me how to counter a hero, I usually tell them to go play that hero for 5 games, and they'll figure it out for themselves pretty quickly that way. There are a couple things I wanted to call attention to specifically from your game. Take a look at the next few clips. I would bet you know what Deflect and Kinetic Grasp do, but you still haven't developed the correct response to these abilities yet. Shooting into it actively helps your enemy, so anytime you see these abilities, you need to stop shooting ASAP and do something else. The same applies for Doomfist Block and Zarya Bubbles. There were also times during the game when there was an immediate threat from the enemy that you didn't react to. The most obvious example is this one. You probably know what Blade is, but you need to learn to react every single time you hear that voice line, or else you will keep dying exactly like this. There are plenty of other abilities that are life-threatening as well, so make sure you know the cues for those as well so you can react. The last thing I'm going to mention in this section, and also probably the most important thing, is the relationship between your character's abilities and shields. At many points throughout the game, which will be playing on screen right now, you tried healing or using abilities through a shield. This just doesn't work, and as such, it is wasted action that should be spent doing something else. Learning interactions like this between your character and the enemy will help you react properly, save more teammates, make more plays, and consequentially gain more elo, which is the product of improving. Our final point of discussion today is about your awareness, which is currently pretty abysmal, but that just means you have a lot of room to improve. And you're not alone. Everyone in your elo has terrible awareness, so if you improve a little bit, you can climb past all of them in no time. Some people might be confused by what awareness actually means, so let's give it a definition. Simply put, awareness is your ability to notice and understand what is going on around you. That's it. Sounds easy, right? Well, it's really not. As a support, you need to not only pay attention to the enemy, but also pay attention to all your teammates at the same time, while also making sure that your own positioning, ability usage, mechanics, and ult usage are all good as well. Let's stop talking about theory and start talking about concrete examples. The first category of awareness that I want to show you is quite literally just you needing to use your camera more. You'll see what I mean. In this clip, your soldier gets low on screen and walks out of view. You need to look for him and see if you can help him instead of shooting at the signal. In the next one, you get tunnel vision trying to heal your soldier, and you turn your back on the entire enemy team and your other teammates, effectively taking yourself out of the fight for a long period of time. Here, the Genji was shooting at you, and then dashed through you, and you don't look at him at all while he's shooting you from behind. In this example, the Genji gets behind you again, and it takes you a very long time to react to him. This is the most basic form of awareness, and the one you should work on first. Make sure that whatever is happening is legitimately on your screen and you can see it. Otherwise, it's nearly impossible to understand what's happening. Here are some good examples of when you kept everything in scope and acted accordingly. These fights were much easier for you, right? You knew where the enemies were, you knew where your teammates were, and you also knew the health of both. When you play support, try to emulate these fights and you will find that naturally it will be a lot easier to make correct decisions. The next component of awareness is making sure your actions are not wasteful. Some people, especially at lower ranks, just press buttons for the sake of doing something, when in reality, they're doing nothing. You want to make sure your actions have a purpose. For example, when you're healing, you have a target in mind who isn't full health or might take damage at any second. Anytime you are doing something without a purpose in mind, you're wasting time that could be spent doing something valuable for yourself or your team instead. Here's some examples of what I'm talking about. Those were just a few examples I picked from your gameplay. I think some of those were lag, but in general, the more of these moments you can eliminate from your game, the better off you'll be. The last piece of the awareness puzzle I'm going to teach today is the ability to recognize a threat when it's on your screen, or off your screen for that matter. This, like a bunch of other things we've talked about today, will come with experience, and that's why you just need to get out there and play. These clips are times that there was a threat that you needed to recognize but didn't. I won't put any text on the screen or commentate, I just want you to figure it out for yourself. Just remember, pay attention and do your best not to get overwhelmed in the middle of a fight. Overwatch is one of the more complicated shooter games, so it'll take a lot of practice before you can notice, process, and react to everything at once. That's probably enough information for one video. Just remember to focus on these 3 things in your future games: understanding yourself, understanding your enemies, and improving your awareness. These are the easiest changes you can make that will quickly level up your gameplay and help you climb. There are 100 other things in this video that you can fix as well, but they are all more complicated or won't improve your gameplay as much, so I chose not to focus on those. After you feel like you have significantly improved in these 3 areas, feel free to send me a message to get a follow-up review. I would appreciate it if everyone could give some feedback on the new review style in the comments below. What did you like about it? What didn't you like? Is there anything you want to see in future videos? This feedback goes a long way to help me improve the channel and deliver higher quality videos to all of you. And that's all I have for today. If you got value from this video, be sure to click like and subscribe, as it really does help out my channel and show me that you want more content like this. I hope you enjoyed, and more importantly, I hope you learned something today. See you in the next one.